Hi, welcome to the Shades of Motherhood Network. I am the Executive Director, Stephanie Courtney. I would like to thank you so much for coming to our online conference, Stronger Together, Community Care for Black Maternal Health. Hey everybody, it's Stephanie Courtney back again with another short clip and podcast with one of my dear sisters and friends. Listen, I don't know if you've ever been somewhere where you have met somebody and you say, this person, I don't know why, is so connected. I love them, and it's just been a story and journey since. Welcome Teresa Fortune, y'all. She is the author, producer. She is, oh my gosh, counselor, spiritualist, all of it, y'all. Artist. So happy to have her here with us today to talk a little bit about her work. She is going to be one of our keynotes at our Stronger Together conference that's taking place on the 31st of May. Welcome, Teresa. I am so glad you are here, sis. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into Black maternal mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I love you. And I'm
I
most,
love you too.
most grateful to be in community with you and to live in this beautiful sisterhood that we are constantly developing
Yes.
personally and professionally. I really admire you, absolutely look up to you, proud of you, deep,
Thank
deep
you.
pride. So, yes, I am Teresa Fortune. I'm the executive producer of the documentary film From the Ashes, which in short is a documentary about my own personal mental health journey through postpartum depression. So, to be quite honest with you, I kind of just stumbled into the space of maternal health care because I had to document my own journey, meaning I didn't have access to the proper health care.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough visibility around the resources that I needed to navigate that space. I decided to self medicate through talk therapy. And so I documented my own journey because it was the only thing that I could do to save my own life. So I would talk to myself to anchor myself out of a moment. So quite a bit of like mental reverse engineering happened within the documentary. But again, that footage was for me. And because I got to the other side of it, I recognized that it's my responsibility to share my own blueprint.
Yes.
Because if it works for me, then I know that it might be able to work for someone else. And I just want to guide people through those that are in need of my support. Some people need it. Some people are just like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
As long as I reach one person, I'm living in the success um, as a professional, and personally, that's fulfillment is what brings me joy. And
Yeah.
so that is how I got into the maternal health space. That is why I'm here. And now I've been able to develop this really powerful voice, not just for myself, but for all of my sisters, for the women that are in the fatigue and the depression or just in womanhood and they don't have the capacity to say that they're not okay. I'm here to say it on their behalf and to for what they need because I know what they need because I also went through it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think that my professional gift and my spiritual gift is my capacity to love and my capacity to just hold space for all of our voices and take that into healthcare in hopes to make major change.
Wow. Um, what does maternal mental health look like for Black women? We talked a little bit about this, and there's a lot of documentation that is sharing that when we're looking at depression, anxiety, psychosis, panic attacks, it looks very different in people of color, but specifically for this conversation, Black women. For you, what do some of those signs look like? for people that are not making the connection?
Well, for my personal experience, a tremendous amount of fatigue,
Hmm.
tremendous amount of fatigue, a lot of silence. There's
Yeah.
no stamina to speak.
Yep.
Um, Major thoughts of like I'm just not worthy enough to even advocate for myself, because if I'm feeling like a failure and the baby's not even here, we
Yep.
always think about like postpartum depression, but we forget that those are emotions that you can also experience while being pregnant.
Yes.
So before my baby even arrived, I had felt like a complete utter failure.
Yep.
And a lot of the things that contributed to that was not having stable housing, uh, not having enough money for myself, my family. And at the time, my daughter's father and I, beautiful married couple, thought that we could handle this. And it was just like, wow, I don't know if we have enough access to resources to navigate this as new parents. So there was a lack of education, which translated internally as I'm just not fit for this because I don't even understand why I'm feeling like I'm not built for the baby that I'm actually developing inside of my own body.
Yeah.
And so as a result, again, a lot of fatigue, a lot of thoughts, a lot of crazy, like manic thoughts around feeling like I'm just not worthy of my
Yeah.
own body, let alone this baby that's going to come into the world. And then I got right into the superwoman syndrome, where it's like, but I'm Black though.
Hmm.
So I know that I'm built for this.
Hmm.
And even if it comes at the sacrifice of self, it's still worth it.
Hmm. Mm.
So maybe that is what is going to bring me pure fulfillment. Just stick it out
Yeah.
and kind of be quiet about it, because if I tell other people, they're going to look at me like a failure. I can't afford for them to feel that way, even if I'm feeling that way about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, if I tell the healthcare people, my doctor, I don't want you to take my baby away from me because you feel like
Yes.
I'm an unfit mother. So a lot of shame, a lot of masking, tremendous amount of silence because I didn't feel safe enough to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Also didn't have the language to be able to say that I'm not okay, because I didn't understand from a chemical standpoint what was going on with my
Yeah.
own body. So yeah, I think that most Black women, we have a level of resiliency that's baked into our DNA that oftentimes feels very disrespectful. And it doesn't feel fair that I have to be this strong, and to be fragile and vulnerable is to almost denounce that I'm a powerful Black woman,
Yeah.
when really power is the ability to feel all feelings.
Mm. Can you say that one more time? That is very, that hit home.
Power is the ability to allow yourself to feel all feelings. And so
Wow.
I strongly believe that we have this emotional spectrum.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to sit on this side of the spectrum with the deepest level of pain and just despair that turns into this daunting experience within depression,
Hmm.
I know there has to be a polar opposite to that experience, because that both sides of the spectrum, emotional spectrum, is what creates the barometer for what's happening.
Right.
So
Right.
everything that's happening in between, it's just the process.
Hmm. Hmm.
Unfortunately, Black women and all Black birthing people were kind of pushed on one side of the spectrum, and we have to climb to the other side. And it's such an unfamiliar space and such an unfamiliar journey around healing, around
Yes.
being able to advocate for your emotional and overall well-being,
Mhm.
and to stop masking it, that we oftentimes only experience one side of the spectrum because that is where we are defined as powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
am I going to revoke my power if I tell you that, like, I'm really not okay?
Yep.
My experience, the moment that I've been able to announce really to the world,
Yeah.
not okay, that was the bridge that allowed me to find my joy and to find my voice and to understand that to be fragile is not just a feminine thing.
Mm-hmm.
To be fragile is to be a human. To feel my feelings is something that is so essential to this experience. And
Wow.
so I am most powerful in my vulnerability. I am
Yeah.
most powerful in my advocacy and agency around my body as a human
Mhm.
being
Yes.
and also as a mother.
Oof, I'm so excited about this conference because the idea of togetherness and going through a journey together is extremely empowering. And then also, it gives you permission. Like, she did it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm going to open this up. And I remember the first time I saw your documentary, I was just crying because I remember thinking, oh, I wasn't being difficult. I wasn't being over the top. I actually was dealing with depression. I had words to identify my experience. And there's a part in there where you're in the water and you're like kind of wrestling with with the water. And it reminded me of being in the womb and being reborn and trying to push through, right? This canal, this transition piece. And I think so many of us don't realize when we do have children, we go through a transition that is not only mentally, physically, but spiritually transformational. And it's sometimes embraced and sometimes it's not. It's very lonely. And what tell us a little bit about your documentary, where people have seen it, where it's been shown, and how is it being used now?
Yeah, first of all, I love that you're naming that scene. That's my most favorite, precious scene. Um, Shout out to my sister, Jeanette Fortune, who is such a phenomenal cinematographer. Uh,
Hmm.
Shot that on an iPhone. The entire film was shot on an iPhone, and that goes back to
Wow.
that there really isn't anything that we can't do.
Yeah.
Everything that is needed for my journey is already provided. I just need
Yep.
to listen to it. And so in doing that, it led me to saying, like, I need to showcase my struggle underneath the water, because the water
Mm.
represents spirit. It represents flow. And
Mm.
so the fight that was happening, literally, like, I'm in the bathtub arguing, literally feeling it, acting to me. I'm not an actress. Let me
Uh-huh.
be. I did reenact quite a few scenes,
Hmm.
but everything that you saw was extraordinarily real.
Mm.
And it's a universal experience that I know all of us are experiencing. And so, getting underneath the water, having my sister stand on the bathtub and just zoning out as though there's no camera at all,
Mm.
I realized that the moment you decide to fight, you lose access to the flow.
Mm.
And because the water represents spirit for me, I had to go through this argument.
Mm.
Spirit. I had to experience, you don't really know God until you question God. And that's really how I feel.
Mm.
And I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel
Yes.
I respectfully honor every journey. Um, my spiritual self has developed because I have found comfort in the flame of hell. And
Mm.
that was something that I had to sit in by myself.
Wow.
And so I couldn't climb back into the womb to find access to that water to calm down the flame of depression. I
Yeah.
had to fortify myself by giving myself permission to feel the heat. And now, if I walk into hell,
Hmm.
hell doesn't have heat strong enough to push me out of it. I can stand in that
Mm.
dust, or if I want to go to the other side and be in heaven, which is all to me a mental state of being. I have
Yeah.
home, I have refuge and home there too. And so, that scene, that's what it meant for me. I had to go through that struggle. I had to be there in order to be here. And that's what I believe. And I know
Mm.
that everything that I experience within my personal journey um, is the catalyst for me to even have a professional experience as an advocate.
Yeah.
So again, shout out to my sister and thank you for naming that scene. It
One
means
of my favorites.
a lot to me. Um, I feel that I'm still a student
Hmm.
as an advocate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
Yep. I'm
I
with you
feel
on
like,
that.
yeah, I'm here to share a lived experience, but I'm also here to learn. And so my film is now used as cultural competency training in the healthcare space.
Wonderful.
So I've had two national screenings with Kaiser Permanente. I've co-led my first two college classes at USF, and it was amazing because it was the first time I've ever been inside of a college classroom. I don't
Wow.
have a degree, but I'm qualified to be in the spaces that I'm in,
Mm.
and I'm really really happy and proud of myself. And I believe that the data is always going to be impartial without the storytelling,
Yeah. Yeah.
without the voices of the people that you're actually trying to measure.
Yeah.
So I feel like my job as an artist is to infuse spirit back into healthcare.
Yeah.
I can't say that I want to restore it. I don't know if it ever existed fundamentally.
Hmm.
And so I'm really grateful to have this beautiful relationship with Kaiser Permanente. Healthcare collectively, we're going through a lot of problems.
Yes.
And there's something that is really attractive about that.
Mm.
I love working with and partnering with those that are in the vulnerability on the business side of this conversation because it means that you're willing to source out the solution. So I don't want to go where it's all shiny and perfect and pretty. I want to get back into the hell,
Yes.
stand there in partnership,
Yep.
study the problem, and
Yep.
become a solution oriented team to get out of it. And
Yep.
so I'm hopeful that I can experience the byproducts of my own efforts in my lifetime. But if not, I know that my great, great, great grandchildren will. And for that alone, I'm most grateful and satisfied today. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Um, you said so much rich stuff, y'all. I mean, Teresa, I can listen to you all day, first of all. Um, and you said something, you said something around knowing yourself and getting the opportunity to go through these different spaces and understanding like the healthcare community, there's this gap. And we talk a lot about this too in my space. There's this gap of just people not understanding. Like you cannot just look at data and say, this is what the problem is with Black people, right? Or Black birthing people or Black women. You really have to dive into art activism. You have to dive into the colors and the sounds and the images to help you understand what the data is saying. And if you just look at Black people as data, you are dehumanizing who they are because you only seen them as numbers. And numbers have no feelings, they have no thoughts, they have no connection, but they will give you the sum of what is happening, meaning the middle. They'll give you the middle. And we don't need the middle. We need to look at these individual situations and say, what is it that we need to do? And Dr. Joy DeGruy, who just came for our conference, she blew it out the water. And I had people crying. We're all, thinking about our 400 plus year journey as Black Americans who suffered through slavery, who suffered through all of these decades of Jim Crow. And then we're supposed to be coming out normal and quote unquote normal. and acting like everything is okay. And that is not the case. We can no longer walk through the same doors our grandparents walked through and say they were showing strength, they showed resiliency, they were in survival mode. How are we going to help the next generation get to a place where they can be vulnerable and they can actually walk through the doors unapologetically healed?
Mm-hmm. That the word that comes to mind is like epigenetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the stories that are just embedded in our bodies from a cellular level,
Yes.
For me personally, I'm really grateful for the resiliency. However, I'm exhausted because of the weight that's carried um, along the way that has been passed generationally. So
Yes.
that strength is kind of coded in a tremendous amount of fatigue and disregard for a naturally like beautiful humane experience.
Yeah.
Black Americans. So I've decided that I'm not here to really focus on gathering data or information.
Mm.
As an artist, my job is to purge stories out of my body
Mm.
that I can have a renewed experience.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
have to be the ancestor that changes the trajectory of this story from a cellular level. So what it means is that I block a lot of information from coming in, and I'm birthing a lot of the problems, and I'm surfacing a lot of the beautiful stories that my ancestors are constantly telling me. I can hear them, I can feel them.
Yeah.
But we become so distracted with gathering data that we forget that there are many stories that we're constantly overlooking, and we're just packing things on top of that.
Yep.
So no, I'm tired, and it's okay to be tired. If I want to take a week off, I'm going to take a week off to
Yep.
cry old tears that need space to surface through my experience. Like, okay, grandma, come on. You sad about that? I feel that in my body. Let it come up.
Yeah.
And so, like, as an artist, it's important for me to not just weave in, the storytelling of the things that have haunted my bloodline,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important for me to also make room to narrate a brand new experience,
Mm-hmm.
and to let go of what no longer serves me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, in the world of healthcare, and we're talking about data and the impartial storytelling that comes from that, as people, we need to take the time to unpack and to not just demand that other people are listening to us, but take the time to make sure that you can hear yourself.
Mm.
What are you actually saying? And what does that
Yeah.
actually mean to you?
Yeah. Yep.
So some of the art, I'm going to show it here. We were talking about this before we started the recording.
Yes.
Like this image was like downloaded in my body 6 years ago. And this collage is almost like 6 feet tall. She's made out of brown Italian leather. And I produced it, and I'm still looking at it, and I'm just like, what does this mean?
Hmm.
I'm still learning about the things that I'm even creating, because what I've recognized is that as an artist, all of the stories are coming out of me.
Yes.
This is like ancestral guidance.
Yes.
What does this kneel? Why is she kneeling? What is this cape? The man that's underneath the cape. What is the weight of the cape? What does that represent? And so instead of, again, oversaturating my world with the data that the world continuously pushes out, I'm just like, nah, I have old information that I'm going to uproot in my lifetime, and I'm going to study me.
Hmm.
I'm going to understand my own power, and I'm going to redefine
Yes.
what that means to me. And I'm going to redefine what success means to me. And motherhood did that to me. Motherhood put me in a position to go back inside of my own womb.
Yeah.
And to trust that I can actually rebirth myself. Because healthcare can't provide that for
No.
me.
No. No. That's why we've got to cultivate these spaces that allow people to go dig and go deep. Because sometimes like you said, we might be dealing with something that is so old or so new, or maybe something was triggered. You just don't know. And until you actually go into those spaces and you dive deep, you will never be able to really be set free. So the last question that I have for you is, what can people expect at your session 2 and 3 that you'll be doing? Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking about and what people can expect.
Absolutely. I'm here to talk about this experience, but also not just talk about my trauma or your trauma, but let's talk about some solutions.
Yes.
Not just focus on healthcare. Like let's remember, I am a Black woman. I am the original medicine cabinet to all that
Hmm.
was, is, and would ever be.
Hmm.
I don't just produce art, we produce life.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
fact that I was born with a reproductive system is beyond gender. It is my spiritual assignment.
Hmm.
And so, as a human being with this beautiful womb, I'm here to remind you that if there's just an ounce of inspiration that you may feel from me and my journey, I am simply a mirror reflecting you back to you.
I love it.
So we'll talk about solutions, we'll talk about the value of healing, the value of taking that pause to feel your feelings, the value of exploring the emotional spectrum, and to do a little bit of like mental reverse engineering. I'm not going to wait for healthcare to fix this. They will, because we're going to hold them accountable. That's
Mhm.
an absolute. But in the interim, what can we do today? What resources do we have available right now? And if they don't exist, let's talk about what we need to do to pull them forward and or to create them as a community. So solution oriented conversations, I'm all about it. And we'll never get there until we find comfort and refuge in the flame together first. And then when you sit in that flame, we make room to forge the way forward as people. And I'm not afraid. I am not afraid to feel my feelings, and I'm not afraid to feel your feelings because I can afford you just
Mm.
as much as me. And I love you. And that's what
Mm.
we're going to
Love it. I love it. So if people want to connect with you or follow you, where are the best places to do that?
Absolutely. I always direct people to my website. I don't really toss out my social media handles. I'm not that active on there. But my website is fromtheashes.media. There's an opportunity to send me an email. Um, that's really where I'm most active. And then in regards to viewing the film, um, I'm working on my next production, which will be publicly available. But for right now, my film is only allowed to be on display with organizations like your organization because you must always be able to experience a conversation to follow the film screening because it is quite triggering, even
Yeah.
though it's triumphant. So, from the ashes.media, if there's an inquiry, if you want to connect with me, or if you want to order some of the art that I'm working on, that is the best place to find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Y'all, if you want more of Teresa, listen, she is going to be in the house online May 31st. You do not want to miss it. It is going to be a powerful moment, powerful connection. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you and love and adore you and cannot wait for our next steps next week for our maternal health, Black maternal mental health conference. So I just want to put that in there. We talk about maternal health, we talk about maternal mental health, but this week we are going to be really focusing in on Black women and the things that they're experiencing and the solutions that will help our communities to be strong together. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye.